There's a reason a pest control company will never sit you down and teach you the 15 tricks I'm about to share. It isn't a conspiracy, it's just arithmetic. Almost every one of these costs a couple of dollars, or nothing at all. And you simply cannot sell a $2 fix to the same person twice a summer, every summer. So these old methods don't get advertised. They quietly get forgotten. Today, we're going to remember them, the way good neighbors once passed them over the back fence. Hello, and welcome back to Evergreen Seniors. Today, 15 simple, low-cost, mostly natural ways to take back your porch from wasps, hornets, and yellow jackets. With every single one, I'll tell you why it actually works, how to use it properly, and the one mistake that ruins it. And do stay with me to the very end, because the 15th trick is the most powerful of them all. One 5-minute job, done at exactly the right moment, that can prevent thousands of wasps before a single one of them ever exists. One quick loving word before we begin. As we get older, our bodies can react to a sting far more strongly than they once did. If you know you're allergic, or a sting has ever left you dizzy or breathless, please leave the nests themselves to a professional. There is no shame in that at all. All right, let's start with trick number 1, the free one that almost everybody skips. Number 1, close the buffet. The smartest first move costs you nothing but a little attention, and most folks walk right past it. Here's the thing. Wasps don't choose your yard by accident. By late summer, a colony is huge, and its natural food is running thin. So the workers turn into bold, tireless scavengers, and they read your yard like a menu. An uncovered trash can, a bowl of dog food on the steps, sticky cans in the open recycling bin, windfall apples rotting sweet under the tree. To a hungry colony, that's a feast, and they will map your property and come back to it every single day, traveling as far as a mile from the nest to reach an easy meal. So keep your trash and recycling lids snug, rinse the sticky cans, never leave the pet's bowl outside, and pick up the fallen fruit before it turns into a wasp tavern. The mistake? Doing every other trick on this list while a sweet, rotting buffet sits wide open by the back step. Close it, and you've already handed the neighborhood's wasps a powerful reason to go bother somebody else. But if you want to actively thin them out, you first need to know one strange thing about how a wasp eats, because it changes with the season. Number 2. The protein and sugar switch. A wasp completely changes its diet through the year. And once you understand it, you'll know exactly what to put out, and when. In spring and early summer, the nest is full of hungry grubs that need protein. So the workers go hunting meat, and this is the very season they're quietly doing you a favor, picking the caterpillars off your cabbages. But as summer peaks and the babies grow up, the nest stops craving protein, and the adults develop a powerful sweet tooth. That's when they dive bomb your lemonade. Come the first cool snap of fall, with the colony at its biggest and its natural food nearly gone, they turn downright desperate and short-tempered, which is exactly when most of us finally get stung. So match your approach to the calendar. Protein draws them early, sweet draws them late. Read that calendar right, and you're always one step ahead of them. In fact, this single fact is why so many folks decide the home remedies don't work. They put out sweet bait in May, when the nest only wants meat, and give up too soon. And that's the secret behind our next trick, the bait itself. Number 3. The $2 bot station. Here's an old gardener's trick that turns their own appetite against them. Wasps are deeply social. The foragers carry food home and share it mouth to mouth. So a little bait reaches the whole nest. Early in the season, a small dab of meat, like a bit of canned cat food, draws the protein hunters. Later on, something sweet like apple juice does the trick, with just a whisper of boric acid stirred in. Poke a hole near the top of an empty soda can, lean a twig against it as a ramp, pour in just a shallow puddle. Never fill it because you want them to sip, leave, and carry the dose home, not drown on the spot and set it out by the fence line. I'll be straight with you. This is a folk method. It works slowly, and psychs beat others, so think of it as thinning the crowd, not a magic wand. And respect that boric acid, it's still a pesticide, so keep it well clear of children, pets, and grandchildren. There's one mistake with it so common it earns its very own number. Number 4, the light hand rule. I know exactly what you're thinking, because I thought it too. If a little boric acid works, a lot must work better. Please don't. This is the single most common reason a bait station fails. Make it too strong, and the wasps can taste the chemical and simply walk right past, leaving your station full and untouched while you wonder what went wrong. The whole secret is a light hand. Weak enough that they never notice it, but present enough to travel home and do its quiet work. A rough guide many gardeners use is about a teaspoon of boric acid to a full cup of juice. No heaping spoonfuls, no a little extra for good measure. With this one, less truly is more. But maybe you're worried about a different visitor entirely. The good one, the one we'd never want to harm. Number 5. Protecting the honeybees. If you love your garden, you love your bees. No bees, no blossoms, no tomatoes. So won't a sweet bait hurt them too? It can in high summer when flowers run dry, so we have to be smart and kind about it. 3 honest protections. First, timing. Bait in late summer and fall when wasps are hungriest and bees are far less interested in a soda can. Second, and this is the cleanest of all, for yellow jackets, lean on the meat bait because bees are vegetarians, plain and simple. They will never touch it, and wasps will swarm it. Third, never set a sweet station near a hive or a bed of blooming flowers. Keep it out by the fence line. You'll hear folks add vinegar to keep the bees off, but I'll be honest. The evidence for that one is thin, so lean on timing and the meat trick instead. Get those 2 right, and you can thin the wasps all season long without ever costing your hive a single forager. And listen, I don't want you out there scribbling all of this on the back of an envelope. I've gathered every recipe, the exact season-by-season timing, and a simple printable safety checklist onto a single 1-page blueprint, and it is yours, completely free. Just scan the QR code right there on your screen, and it'll download straight to your phone. Print it out and tack it up in the shed. Now, let's move from thinning their numbers to making sure they never move in at all. Number 6, the decoy nest. Here's a gentle, almost charming trick. Paper wasps, especially, are fiercely territorial. They generally won't build within a couple hundred feet of another colony because they refuse to compete with the neighbors. So you give them a neighbor. Take a brown paper bag, stuff it with crumpled newspaper, twist the top, and hang it under your eave in early spring. To a scouting queen, that gray, papery blob looks for all the world like an occupied nest, and she'll often move along to a quieter street. The honest truth, this works best on paper wasps, does little against ground-nesting yellow jackets, and it's no magic charm. But it costs nothing, harms nothing, and on the right wasp, it genuinely helps. And it pairs beautifully with my very favorite trick of all. Number 7. The Peppermint Barrier. This one delights me because it smells absolutely wonderful to us and downright miserable to them. And there's real science behind it. A wasp reads nearly its whole world through fine scent receptors on its antennae. Overwhelm that sense, and you've thrown sand right into the gears. In a 2013 study published in the journal Pest Management Science, researchers found that peppermint oil strongly repelled paper wasps and yellow jackets, and that a blend of clove, lemongrass, and geranium worked beautifully too. So mix a generous few drops of peppermint oil into a spray bottle of water, add a little clove and lemongrass if you have them, and wipe it along your eaves, window frames, and the undersides of your railings. Anywhere a wasp likes to start a nest. To you, it smells like a candy cane. To a scouting queen, it's a wall of confusion she cannot think straight inside of. 2 honest notes. This is prevention, so it won't drive out a nest that's already there, and you'll want to freshen it every couple of weeks, especially after a rain. And keep cats and dogs off the treated spots until they're good and dry. A few drops on a cotton ball, tucked up into a problem corner, works in a pinch too. And unlike any chemical, it leaves your porch smelling like the holidays. Number 8. Erase the welcome mat. Have you ever knocked a nest down, felt that flush of victory, and then watched a brand new one go up in the very same corner the next spring? It feels personal. It isn't. The plain truth is that the spot is simply good real estate. Sheltered from rain, warm in the sun, tucked out of the wind, and the old paper stub left behind whispers to a new queen that the last tenant did just fine there. So scrub that corner down with hot soap water and clear away every last scrap of the old nest right down to the stub. You're erasing the welcome mat, changing the listing from move-in ready to nothing to see here. The mist is knocking the nest down and walking away, leaving the corner just as cozy and inviting as ever. For an even longer-lasting shield, there's one chemical option worth knowing about. Number 9. The long-lasting dust barrier. For the gardener who wants one season-long shield and is comfortable using a real product properly, there's an insecticidal dust containing an ingredient called deltamethrin. It's waterproof and keeps working for months tucked along your eaves and rafters. And if a scouting queen lands there, it clings to her before she can ever lay an egg. But I'll say this plainly. It is a true pesticide, not dish soap. Read that label and follow it to the letter. Wear a dust mask and gloves. Keep it up high and far from where anyone gathers or food is prepared. And keep children and pets well clear. Used with respect, it's powerful. And if that's more chemistry than you care for, and for many of us it surely is, the peppermint and the decoy will carry you a very long way. And if you're finding this useful, do tap that subscribe button, because the next few tricks are for the nest that's already there. And trick 15 is the one that ends the whole cycle for good. Number 10. Treat at night. Sometimes a nest is already there, humming away over the back door. And this is where the single most important word is when. Dr. Michael Potter, a longtime extension entomologist at the University of Kentucky, has spent a whole career telling folks the same thing. If you must treat a nest, do it after dark or at first light, never in the heat of the day. Here's why. At midday, a big share of the workers are out foraging. Hit the nest then, and you only get half the colony, while the other half comes home to find the place in ruins and you standing there. And they will not be in a forgiving mood. But at dusk, the air cools, the wasps turn slow and sluggish, and the whole family is home and tucked in. You get them all at once, and the few that do stir can barely fly straight in the cool night air. And the tool for the job is already sitting under your kitchen sink. Number 11. The dish soap. Take down plain dish soap and water. No $15 can of poison, leaving a film where your grandchildren play. Just beautiful physics. Every wasp wears a thin, waxy raincoat that keeps water off, which is why plain water just beads up and rolls away and makes them cross. But dish soap is a surfactant. It breaks the skin of the water so it can't bead up anymore. Hit a wasp with soapy water, and it strips that waxy coat clean away, and the water floods straight into the tiny breathing holes along its sides. For a wasp breathes through its skin, you see, not a nose like ours, and it simply can't draw breath. So fill a spray bottle, add a generous squirt of soap, give it a shake, and soak that nest thoroughly and directly. And only ever on a small nest you can reach standing flat on solid ground. Never up a wobbly ladder, and never alone if you can help it. When the nest finally goes quiet, knock it down with a long pole, bag it, and you're done. And because there's no poison in it at all, the soapy water that drips onto the ground can't harm your soil, your flowers, or the dog that wanders by an hour later. But working in the dark brings its own little catch. Number 12. The red light trick. You can't see what you're doing in the dark, and a big, bright flashlight is exactly the wrong fix. It lights you up like a stage, and the startled wasps fly straight at the glow. So here's a clever penny's worth of know-how. Wasps, like most insects, are very nearly blind to the color red. Wrap your flashlight lens in red cellophane or red tape. And better still, set it on the ground a few feet off to the side, pointed at the nest. Now you can see just fine. You're not lit up like a target, and any wasp that does rouse heads for that glow on the ground, well away from you. Now one hard safety rule before we go any further. Number 13. Near electricity. Stop. This one sends folks to the hospital every year, and it has nothing at all to do with stings. Never spray soapy water or any liquid at a nest on or near a light fixture, a breaker box, a meter, or any wiring. Water carries electricity, and a shock at our age is a far graver thing than a sting. For a nest in a tricky spot like that, there are special non-conductive aerosol sprays made for the job. Read the label carefully, or, far better still, that is exactly the moment to call a professional and go pour yourself an iced tea. And there's one more thing I'll beg you never to do. Number 14. Put the hose down. No matter how tempting, do not grab the garden hose and blast a nest from across the yard. It doesn't kill the wasps. It just wrecks their home and enrages every last one of them. Unlike a honeybee, which stings once and then dies, a wasp keeps its stinger and can sting you again and again and again. Worse, when their nest is attacked, social wasps release an alarm scent, a chemical call to arms that pours the whole colony out to defend. Researchers like Sean McCann at Simon Fraser University have documented this alarm signaling in social wasps. You're not facing one angry insect. You're facing a coordinated swarm, and they fly far faster than any of us can run. And let me give you the numbers honestly, without the scare tactics. Insect stings send many thousands of Americans to the emergency room every year. Older adults are among those most at risk. and the most dangerous stretch is August through October, when the colonies peak. In a typical year, they cause around 70 deaths in this country. Many in folks who never knew they were allergic until that very day. So if a nest is tucked safely out of the way and bothering no one, the wisest move is often to simply let it be. And take heart that the solitary wasps, the gentle loners, are wonderful friends to a gardener, quietly hunting the very grubs that eat your vegetables. And now, the trick I promised you at the very start, the most powerful of them all. Number 15, the spring queen strike. Everything we've covered gets 100 times easier once you understand one simple fact about how wasps live. A colony is an annual affair. In the fall, the entire colony dies. Every worker, the old queen, all of it, and only a handful of young newly mated queens survive, sleeping through the winter in a woodpile, a shed, or a crack in the bark. And when the warm days of spring arrive, each one wakes up hungry and completely, utterly alone. Think about that for a moment. Inside that one small, lonely insect is the blueprint for an entire colony. Thousands of wasps that exist for now only as a possibility. That is the moment. In April and May, that queen has no army, no workers, no guards, nothing at all. She is a single insect building a starter nest the size of a golf ball, all by herself. Deal with her then. A careful soapy spray at dusk, or simply knocking down that tiny new nest on a cool morning, and you have not removed one wasp. You have quietly erased the entire colony of hundreds. And in a good year, for some species, well into the thousands, that would have tormented your family all summer long. Do the arithmetic with me. 5 minutes in April, against a whole summer of swatting, flinching on your own porch, and maybe a trip to the doctor. There is no higher return in all of gardening. So on the first warm afternoons, take a slow walk around your eaves, your shed, and your mailbox, and look for a lone wasp coming and going from one spot, or a papery nest no bigger than a walnut. That's your founding queen. Handle her safely at dusk, and you've won the whole season before it even began. The one mistake that costs people their entire summer is simply waiting. Every week, she's adding workers, until that easy 5-minute job becomes the dangerous one in August. So there they are, 15 tricks, almost everyone for a couple of dollars or less, with most of the ingredients already sitting in your house. And notice this, not a single one of them is magic. Everyone comes straight out of how these creatures actually live. The annual colony, the seasonal appetite, the waxy coat, the keen sense of smell, the lone queen in spring. That's the whole heart of what we do here at Evergreen Seniors. Not fear and not hype, just a clearer, kinder understanding of the living world right outside your door. And when you finally understand the why, the garden stops being a battleground and goes back to being what it always should have been. A sanctuary that belongs to you. So here's what I'd love for you to do. If this was helpful, tap that like button. It truly helps other gardeners our age find this little corner of ours. And don't forget that free one-page blueprint. Just scan the QR code on your screen, and the whole system is yours to keep. Then tell me down in the comments which trick you're going to try first, and whether you've got an old wasp remedy your mother or grandfather swore by. And if you'd like honest, money-saving garden wisdom like this every week, do subscribe and join the family. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for spending part of your day with Evergreen Seniors. Stay safe out there, be kind to your knees, and as always, happy gardening.